Libs of TikTok is not on TikTok. They've been banned from TikTok forever. They're only on Twitter. Right.
The name itself is misleading.
Right. So the name is misleading. The TikTok videos are edited to suit her audience. She knows she creates these threats and does it anyway.
There we are.
I thought I was going to change my deal so it looked more like I was at a kitchen table, of a pub. So
this looks so much better than whatever weird angles we usually get you from.
So here's I was shooting my other podcast 2 days ago, and when I showed up, I go, I've got the right gear for this, and for some reason I've never brought it. And so I wish I could show you, because it's just the clip on and with a battery pack. And yeah, it does do a much nicer, sorry, man. I apologize for the year worth of podcasts that I have not done this while it's sat in my living room.
Sean, I give you an E for effort thus far.
Hey, I don't know about your week, but mine's been effing crazy. So what do you actually, here, let me see what this deal says on the bottom. Meeting is being recorded. Okay. What do you, what do you actually want to talk about today? Because I got like 50 things on the Sean crazy person agenda.
Today my main theme was the Villagers podcast with Sean, while Park quietly nods. So I dedicated this entire thing just to you. You have so much shit going on.
Right. So here's the thing that I would tell anybody listening, and I mean this because I want everybody to be involved in politics. Whether I agree with you or not does not matter. I was in an event last night, and there's a county commissioner named Brian Maughan that he and I have disagreed on quite a few things, but we could be completely cordial in public. And his friend, who's a judge, same deal. It's not anymore. It's not a Republican Democrat thing. It's how crazy are you? Are you a dug in person where I can't even talk to you about my end of things? And so we have reached the point of absolute insanity here. So do you want to ask me questions about the TikTok lady, or do you just want me to spew my view?
Let me ask you questions so that people who have no idea what is happening, they will be able to follow along. I have too much context, so I'll just ask you out of the bat.
Let me act relaxed, like I'm at the kitchen table at the pub having some coffee. Go ahead, sir.
So, Sean, what did you actually start with when the libs of TikTok came after you?
Right.
What was it that they posted, and what were you doing at that meeting?
Okay, so I was at a school board of education meeting for the state of Oklahoma. And mind you, we are 50th in education in America. So we already don't have much to brag about. So nobody is there saying, keep things the way they were, keep things the way they were. We would love new ideas, especially from intelligent people. But instead of dealing with all of that, we have an assault on our education system. And it's all about finance, folks. If you don't know anything about education, it's the half of most states' budgets. So it should be receiving half of their attention, but it just doesn't. And in my specific state, since we're rated so low, just 20 years ago, we were either 17th or 37th, depending on how you did your math. But either way, we were in the top 40, and now we're last. So obviously something has happened, and it's not good. And the same people have been in charge the whole time. So we do get to blame them. So I went down there to talk about our state superintendent of education hired this person of questionable character, questionable intent, questionable background, no resume, no any. She sold real estate, and basically, and people would accuse me of being a person that starts poop, and she's that to a fifth level. So this lady is now on our libraries board, and what that means is she either helps put forth books to be approved or disapproved, because we have this fake porn in schools things going on in America now. And that's the big attack, porn in schools, and it's in the phones. That's where it is. It's not, you don't have to go to school to find it. It's everywhere.
But then
Okay.
I heard you correctly till getting porn out of schools. The
Right.
reason why I wanted to stop you there is because I sent
Yeah.
that link to a friend of mine, and she's a very well respected financial attorney in India.
Right.
And
Right.
she replied back and she was like, what did they mean by porn in school or libraries? And I was like, I'm guessing they're talking about any book that talks about anything between a man and a woman.
Right. Okay, so remember, you guys have the ultimate book on lovemaking. I mean, you guys have it. That's probably why you have 1,500,000,000 people. But
Shout out
over
to the Kama
here,
Sutra for some reason.
that's
Thank you,
right.
Sean.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't mention it. Well, no, think about that. That's the study of, right? It's fair to say that is a study of, this is how it works, all of this. We are a country built from Puritans. That's who came over here. We're Puritans from England trying to find a place that they could practice their religion. And they're a little uptight. Now, us Irish, not so uptight. The French, not so uptight. So we're a country built of people that are either embrace human sexuality or literally hide behind, 3 shades of clothing and everything else to not be demonized by our human desires. Is that, I think that is probably a fair explanation. Now, I'm sure it's dramatic, but it's probably fair. So
Yeah.
there isn't porn in schools. So let's go ahead and start that out. Of the books in America that are banned, there are basically 12 or 13 people that have done all of them. So it's an organized group of political activists that have decided this is the way to do it. It really is that simple, and nobody wants to hear that it's that simple, but there are books in our public libraries about LGBTQIA issues because 10% of the population is estimated to either be involved or be actively gay. So shouldn't we address that and make them feel welcome somewhat? Yeah, I mean, but they want those out because I think they think their kid will catch being gay. That's really and truly the fear. And moms of liberty were involved in this stupid stuff as well, and they've gone by the wayside because so many of their people had criminal charges filed against them and stuff. And this lady is a real estate agent that was married for 1 year. And I feel bad saying that, but it's true. It just shows you her background's not real stable. And she dropped out of college, which, hey, so did I. I mean, you could be talking about me on all of this. So I'm not dogging her for that. What I'm dogging her for is, so she republishes, if you make a video and you send it to her, she shares it, for lack of a better word. But the problem is it's not honest. She edits it. And she edits it to her angle. So will you explain to people what editing is so they don't hear it from me?
Yeah, you can technically cut this entire conversation and make it sound completely the opposite of what Sean's saying, just through an edit.
Right. It's not hard to do. The technology, a 60-year-old can do it. So what happened in our state is we had this adorable, I think she was a 2nd grade teacher, and she made a video with some hilarious background music. And it was about her being more progressive. Literally, that was what the video was. And she comes walking into her room and there's a bunch of books there. And she leans over and does a little TikTok video. It's adorable. It's what you want your teachers to do. It's something cute. It shows your kids you can get your point out without being. This lady from Libs of TikTok, Shia Renchick, cuts the video and then basically puts it out as if this lady is defying everything in America. And so the school starts getting death threats. Now, this is a grade school, which in America is usually kindergarten through 6th or kindergarten through 8th. They have to close for 6 days because of bomb threats. Now, I get letters from teachers, parents, all this other stuff, and the teachers are walking out 2nd graders and trying to act like they're not scared. And they're afraid they're going to blow up in the building. They don't get to go home to their parents. What's going to happen to the kids? Who rounds them up? I mean, teachers have weird jobs. They are parents, custodians, physicians, nurses, all this other stuff, as well as trying to get some information across to people. So how a person that caused death threats, bomb threats, same deal, at an elementary school is chosen to help do books when she, for one, doesn't live in our state, isn't a librarian, doesn't have an education background, doesn't have a teaching degree, master's degree, PhD, or anything else that would tell you she knows how a child would take in any information. She is a creator of a TikTok site that caused bomb threats. Now, she has a picture of herself holding a USA Today saying, creator of TikTok, where bomb threats follow her posts or her statements or however it is. Front page of USA Today. So she attained the popularity wanted. And then it's become a political tool. So now she's probably going to try to get on library boards in conservative states everywhere, and that'll turn into some political thing for her. But Libs of TikTok is not on TikTok. They've been banned from TikTok forever. They're only on Twitter. Right.
The name itself is misleading.
Right. So the name is misleading. The TikTok videos are edited to suit her audience. She knows she creates these threats and does it anyway. That's the issue. So in America, you have freedom of speech. You do not have freedom of consequences from the stupid stuff that you say. So I could sue her because she did lie about me. And then there's a Democratic elected official here that she started on yesterday because you know me well enough. Somebody comes at me, I go, hey, I used to be a stand-up comedian. Are you sure you want to do this? And you know where we are. I am a true believer in the American Second Amendment. You come armed because it's going to be ugly. So everybody eventually goes, oh God, go mess with somebody else. So they've jumped on this guy named Mickey Dolenz, who's a decent guy. And I think the fear that they're trying to do is anyone that speaks against her is going to have this little fake keyboard Ku Klux Klan group, on them, and they're going to investigate you. And look, you're a guy that works in IT. You can do everything these guys are doing in seconds. So the other question is most of the shares with my name on it. So if you go to Twitter, the former Twitter, and you click mentions, it's where your name is mentioned. Yeah. All of those were bots. They're not people. They were all bots. They weren't shared, no likes, no anything. And then you click on it, they have like 68 followers, but they've been there 2 years. No. So next scam, now, I did uncover it here, which is probably a little more dangerous. And I don't know of anybody else that's actually fought back against her other than me. But that's why they moved on to the next person. Just typical bully fashion. If you can't dog this person. So does that make sense to you? I hope it does to our audience. This is, we are in a very crazy place in America right now. Yeah. So have you read anything about this talk of civil war down on the Texas border?
Oh, shit. I did read about it for the sole reason that they put razor wires inside the Rio Grande River so that people can't see it, and also tied like some sort of spiked saw to the buoys in the river. And I was like, okay, what sort of Mad Max type dystopian world is this?
So let's be honest. Texas used to be Mexico. We stole it from on a fake war. That's the actual history. We stole it on a fake war. Believe it or not, a friend of mine from high school's family was given about a quarter of Texas. He was a British general, and now squatters have taken over all the land, which is appropriate in America. You stole it. Now they stole it back. So I have always said this flood of immigrants coming from the South are Americans retaking America one step at a time. I mean, I've never acted like I feel any different or anything else. It was their country. We are here, and they slowly are just coming in as workers, disguised as workers, to come get their country back.
So I was telling someone the other day about how it's all the way till California that was technically all Mexico.
Here's the reality money-wise. California is I don't think they're the 8th biggest economy in the world now. I think they're bigger. I think it's like number 6, but they were bigger than Germany. I mean, it was pretty big. And then Texas, between California and Texas, that is an obscene amount of oil revenue in America. And both of those were Mexico. And that's just a fact that nobody kind of wants to deal with. So when you do this in Texas, who desperately needs labor, because Texas really is an industrial giant. They're not California, but they're an industrial giant. They need labor. Oklahoma needs labor. We all need labor. So you would think in a normal world we could go, okay, could we allow an opening or a way for these folks to get in? Now, what none of us really wants to admit is George Bush, the original one, and the CIA and Ronald Reagan, and I don't think Nixon was involved in that stuff, created this Contra rebels deal down in Central America, which then created this flow and path into America of other stuff. So the CIA was dropping weapons and bringing cocaine back to America, which flooded the ghetto markets. And I know this sounds crazy. It's documented. I'm not lying.
I've seen those documentaries, people. There are things on it.
Google it. And now the consequence of all of that is we ruined the political regimes down there and put puppet leaders in who couldn't stay or became so heavy-handed that the people started to flee. This is literally, we are living a failed coup, kind of like one that happened a few years ago. And this is long-term. Nobody thinks about this stuff. Where are these people going to go? We ruin the politics of their homeland. It doesn't matter whether we like it or not. It's theirs. It is. And this isn't some Democrat thing. This is this is not working out well. So they need to work. We need workers. You'd think we could cut a deal, right?
Yeah.
No, it's a political deal in Texas because Democrats are 50-50, red and blue, 50-50. So the Republicans have decided the tougher they become, the more voters they'll get, which really doesn't work out that way. It's just their stable voters will become more entrenched. And they know that it's 50-50, so they create these dramas. Right now, there is a bill on the table that is exactly what President Donald Trump wanted for immigration. And it won't even get a reading in our United States Congress. They won't even read it.
Oh shit, I did hear about this. It was put forward by the guy from Oklahoma. What is his name? Langford?
Yeah, Langford. And this guy is he was a preacher at a religious camp. That was his resume to become senator. Wish I was kidding.
That explains the bangs.
Oh yeah, the terrible hair. God Almighty. We call him Skeletor. But the Republican Party in Oklahoma turned on him, and this is how divisive they are with their own people. Other Republicans were like, who wrote that letter? I didn't agree to write that letter, but this is what happens in America. So we swing side to side to side. Somebody thinks they're completely in charge and they're not. It's the money guys. I mean, let's be truthful. Yeah. And they start jumping in and like biting other dogs, and then they finally bite a big dog, and the big dog bites back. Yeah, and that's where it starts to change. We are just so on a Newsmax TV interview show. Our governor literally was talking about siding with Texas in a civil war. Hold on, against Joe Biden, not against the United States of America. Against Joe Biden. And we have this terrible history here of southern states wanting to, instead of fighting to keep them, we should just let them go. I mean, seriously, let them go. Because they have their own power grid, which doesn't work. I don't know if any of you remember last year we had this terrible winter storm, and hundreds of people died in Texas because their grid couldn't take it. But they didn't want to be part of the U.S. grid, where in a place the weather was better, we could send power down to Texas. They didn't want to be part of it. They have their own grid, and it doesn't work. And we have United States military bases there, literally within Texas. I mean, all of this is just insane, and it's political rhetoric. But like this TikTok lady, they probably got hundreds of freaking lunatics in their audience that are preparing for D-Day, where there's, I don't know where they think they're going to go. The reason they're successful is because they get to sell to the rest of America, which would be then tariffed. First off, you have
Yeah.
to survive a war, which doesn't you. Hey, have a look at Afghanistan and tell me how that stuff's working out for everybody. Because I see them using donkeys and carts, when they used to drive trucks.
But also, I find it hilarious that these states think that they can go up against the military of the United States.
Right.
And also, do they not understand President of the United States? That's Joe Biden's title, not President of the Democrats or the liberal left or whatever the hell they think it is.
Not even sure I have a comment on how ridiculous it is, but we've got people running for Congress that are talking about when we start shooting the Democrats, and it's that's their spiel. And but I have to say, my people who try to throw me out of my own party demonize Republicans just as bad. But that's just, I don't know how we find a common enemy to join ourselves back together against.
I think you'll all just need to group together and just hate Canada with all your heart.
Right. It's too cold up there. We don't want to invade. It's too cold. We don't go cold places. Hey man, this deal with Mexico is worrisome on a lot of levels. Their country is basically, segments of their country is run by drug cartels that were created through this old Reagan era stuff originally. And people go, no, that's not true. And you go, if you really have a look, yes, this is where it all stems from. And so it's our own policies coming back to haunt us, which has happened over and over and over and over and over. And we just can't learn from it. And it's sad. We really are England's little brother. If their policies just come back and burn them and burn them and burn them and burn them. And for some reason, the regular everyday population, Brexit is a disaster. The healthcare system over there is a disaster. So I don't know, Deepak. It's like I said, man, it's a weird time. But I haven't had political death threats in a while. So it was nice to get a few of those, make sure I was still alive.
I know. Even I was like, oh shit, let me not read any of our YouTube comments today, because I didn't want to go through our YouTube comments. I was like, nope.
It is so these guys, from here, I'm sure this lady will be removed pretty quick, because it's too much turmoil even for the Republicans in charge. And let's be honest, I blew the whole thing up, which is what I was there to do. I was there to blow it up.
If you hadn't said anything, she would have quietly been on the library board for no reason.
Yes, if I hadn't given that speech, nobody would even know who she is. But that's what I'm here for. So this buddy of mine, David Glover, that and I, only a few people that can really go out and say things that are not worried about their career or future business. I am one to look so down on that I can't lose a reputation, especially in the South. I'm a pub owner. What do you expect? And that's what I say back to people. They go, "Oh, you cuss," and I go, "Yes, I do." And you sell alcohol, and I go, "Yes, I do." At last I checked, it was legal. And you make food with weed, and I go, "Yes, I do." Last I checked, it was legal. So everything that anyone could demonize me for is legal. It's okay. Yeah, I know. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing where like these prudish people show up with points that they could have argued maybe in the 1800s.
Right. Yeah, it just doesn't matter anymore. And I had this guy named Bob Lynn. I was at some event, and that's what he yelled to the crowd. He sells alcohol. Literally.
Hell yeah, he does.
And I was like, "Yes, I do. We're at 7528 North Main." I mean, it's we're in between Puritanism and all this other stuff. Here's the irony, though. The Republican Party is the ones that expanded alcohol laws here. The Republican Party are the ones that control the rules on marijuana usage here. I mean, they're entirely in control in some way or another. It's the end user or
somehow it's the left's fault, Sean. I don't know how. It's the liberal hippies who are ruining this.
Right. So I don't know where all this goes, but I know from your perspective, this just has to be bizarre to be watching.
Oh God, yeah. But the weird part is it's also so not on the news here that the only reason I'm aware of it is because of articles that you or Alex or somebody else I work with would send
Wow.
me. Like the
Yeah.
other day, I actually had to break this down from scratch to a friend. And she was like, this is the first I'm hearing of any of this. And I was like, I
Right.
know. People get busy within their lives, their countries, or
Yeah.
whatever. It's just difficult to
Yeah.
keep track of like this many things going on.
Yeah, what I always say is, hey, look, people have jobs and families. And when I
Mhm.
had all 5 kids in school, I had to make so much money, I really couldn't do anything else. I just worked the whole time. Because I had some guy go, I used to know you and you wouldn't do this. And I go, I don't think you ever asked that Sean what his opinion was, because my opinions have not changed at all. My perspective has changed and my ability to be able to say my opinion. Because so there's kind of an economic terrorism if you live in a smaller state. Like this state only has 4 million people. It's the size of Ireland.
Mhm.
There's an economic terrorism they can do. If you don't agree with their stuff, they just make sure nobody does business with you.
Oh yeah, I've heard about this even
Yeah.
while sitting at your pub where somebody's told me that, oh, we're not coming here again because of the political talk. And I'm like, dude, this is the one place
The
where we can
pub.
sit quietly and enjoy talking about this.
The
If
pub,
you are
right.
not mature enough to have these talks, then
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell you're
Right.
doing here.
Yeah. Obviously, you didn't look up the definition of a pub before you came, because that's what we
Mhm.
do. We talk religion, politics, we talk about anything. Have a pretty good take on retail politics because of that. There's
Mhm.
all sides, and there's been some arguments, and very few people ever raise their voice here over it, but some do. But it's pretty interesting. Okay, how are we doing time wise? Because I probably need to
Oh,
turn my bread.
we're almost at 30.
Well, what
Mhm.
else do you want to cover in closing before I go turn my bread?
I don't know. You need to tell me what is a more positive note we can wrap this
Okay,
thing
well,
up in.
so okay, let's look at it this way. Everybody goes, this is the worst time in America. Tells me
Mhm.
somebody that's never read a history book.
Yeah.
We go through these clashes, we move back out. We go through these clashes, we move back out. The difference between this one and those ones is in the 1960s, there was a backlash of people against a pressure-induced, war-induced, and really illegal war-induced regimes here. And
Mhm.
now it's people with billions and billions and billions of dollars playing with politics and religions trying to claw their way back into this mainstream. Well, let me close with this. I would say the biggest fear that I see in all of this is
Mhm.
religion trying to claw their way back into the mainstream. They've
Yeah.
lost the mainstream. And their way to claw back in is to use government money to subsidize themselves after terrible behavior, which cost them lawsuits, which caused them bankruptcy. I mean,
Mhm.
self-induced. Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
It's almost like I think like if more people, it's just history repeating itself in cycles and
Yeah.
cycles of fuckery.
And again.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. Take us out, brother. I got to go turn my bread.
Okay. So this is the Villagers podcast. Hopefully Sean doesn't get any more death threats and doesn't keep picking fights with idiots.
I'll see you, my friend. You have a good day, okay?
See you.